DC, Gotham anti-hero rises with ultimate powers. Episode 101. A whole month has passed since the Joker's attack on Gotham City. After Jiang Li teleported the entire Dionysian Factor pool back to the Apocalypse Cave, he had been conducting purification experiments and reducing the side effects to infinitely close to zero. After such a long time, Jiang Li can be regarded as having completed this project. It just so happens that today Jiang Li Javanus' daughters come together to try the Dionysian Factor hot spring he developed. This is so comfortable. Stephanie wore a golden bikini and soaked in the turquoise Dionysian hot spring. Jiang Li is also soaked in it, and he is also quite proud of his masterpiece. This hot spring has the function of making people look old and prolong life. Selena seemed to be amused by Jiang Li's words. You are laughing again, how is this possible? All the women expressed their disbelief in Jiang Li's words. How could there be a hot spring in the world that could make people 553 immortal? They would rather believe that Jiang Li was a single man. I believe in leaving. Harley Quinn directly chose Quanhua to appear, jumped directly into the hot spring, and set off a small tsunami. Ahem. Stephanie was caught off guard and was fed a large mouthful of water, and an annoyance immediately appeared on her pretty face. Hallie. How can you be so shameless? What made Stephanie most unacceptable was that Hallie actually didn't have a single cloth on her body, and she was reluctant to cover it, which was completely naked seduction. The others were either wearing bath towels or bathing suits, and Harley was alone with red fruits. Hallie stood up confidently when she heard this, and stood up very proudly, and said with a hint of provocation in her tone, "That's really embarrassing, I like this." Stephanie looked at the slightly, meatball that was much larger than her, and couldn't help but grit her teeth with hatred. Big is amazing, she can still grow. Humph, weakling. Hallie's nostrils were about to rise to the sky, and she hugged Jiang Li's arm in the posture of a victor, and soaked in the hot spring with the latter. Jiang Li felt the soft touch coming from his arm, and couldn't help but pat Harley's head a little funny. Stop making trouble, soak in your hot spring obediently. Harley is like a little girl with a small heart, no matter what, she can't help but dote on her. Seeing this, Stephanie pouted a little unpleasantly, and soaked her whole body into the hot spring, leaving only her nose above in the air, and the spring water blowing in her mouth. Gollum. On the side, Barbara patted Stephanie's back comfortingly, and she could see that her girlfriend was jealous again. He was invited to meet a very important person, and Jiang Li and this person had not seen each other for some time. Suddenly, a swirling portal appeared next to the park chair where Jiang Li was, and a beautiful silhouette emerged from it. She had charming waist-length black hair. Wearing a beautiful and moving black dress, she is the Zatanna who she has not seen for a long time. Jiang Li got up with a smile and hugged Zatanna, who pounced. The tighter the latter hugged, the more the former could feel the deep love of the other party. I really miss you. Me too, Xiaoza. Read violent novels, just go to Feilu Fiction Network. Jiang Li caressed Zatanna's face and said, I won't leave again this time. Zatanna shook her head, her eyes were full of Jiang Li's figure. She gently held Jiang Li's hand that caressed her face. No, I have officially become a teacher, and my father will not care about me anymore. Then, after a moment of hesitation in his heart, Jiang Li decided to tell Zatanna about the current situation on his side. Xiaoza, actually. Hearing this, the corners of Zatanna's raised mouth began to curve downward, and her pretty face gradually became extremely gloomy, and even Jiang Li couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of spit. In fact, Jiang Li had long wanted to tell Zatanna that the situation in the matter at this time, but he was afraid that the other party's magic training would not be followed. Now that Zatanna has graduated from Zatarana, Jiang Li naturally has to tell Zatanna the truth about his first girlfriend in his eyes. What do you say? Zatanna's whole body exuded a terrifying aura, and her black hair began to slowly float in the air. Seeing this, Jiang Li actually subconsciously took a step back. He should also be glad that he had the Dionysian Factor and the Doomsday bloodline, and many means on earth were useless to him. Boom. Zatanna's hands erupted with a powerful magical aura, and Jiang Li took the blow abruptly, and the former could not bear to hurt the latter. Plop. She just lifted the river away and landed in the fountain in the park, turning him into a falling soup chicken. Humph. Zatanna waved her jade hand, and a counterspeech magic came out of her mouth, and a portal sent her away. Jiang Li saw Zatanna leave, and stood up with a smile. I'm angry, I look like I'm coaxing. Zatanna is also not desperate, deliberately leaving traces of magic, and can easily track her location. This was obviously a chance for Jiang Li. If he was still like a log, then Zatanna would be disappointed in him. Episode 102. London. Zatanna was sitting in a bar here, drinking wine alone, her little mouth pouting slightly, clearly angry with someone. Oops, there's no more seats. At this time an incomparably familiar voice sounded beside her. So this beautiful lady, do you mind more than one person here? Zatanna just looked out the window, but the rising corners of her face betrayed her mood at this time. At least now her mood has changed a little. Jiang Li naturally captured the details of Zatanna's face, and he sat in the seat in front of Zatanna with a slight smile. This lady doesn't seem to be in a good mood, and I think I know how to make you happy. Jiang Li pretended to grab something in the pocket of his clothes, and then extended his clenched fist in Zatanna's direction. The latter also squinted at Jiang Li's fist with some curiosity, and then Jiang Li flipped his hand, and a bright red rose appeared in Jiang Li's hand. Zatanna rolled her eyes. She would actually be a little expecting something from Jiang Li, a fresh trick. She took the rose, and then whispered a spell in her mouth, and the next moment the rose in her hand turned into a flame, fleeting in the air. Jiang Li naturally would not give up. His fingers moved slightly, and a white mist began to appear on the glass window in front of Zatanna's eyes, and then the white fog gradually appeared. Words above it are the names of Jiang Li and Zatanna, and a love heart pattern surrounds them. Phew. Zatanna also did not give Jiang Li a chance this time, and after a counterspell, a breath of breeze came out of her mouth, and the white fog on the glass window disappeared instantly. Jiang Li would not die easily. He conjured a burning cigarette with his backhand, and after taking a sip, he lightly exhaled the smoke. Two heart-shaped white smoke appeared in front of Zatanna's eyes, and then Jiang Li took a sip, and the white smoke turned into a sharp arrow through the heart. Now you have to be satisfied. In ancient times, Liu Bei and Gu Maolu invited Zhuge Liang, and now there is Jiang Li magic to coax Zatanna. This girl is not more difficult than Zhuge Liang. The ending naturally did not disappoint Jiang Li. Zatanna sighed lightly, and finally turned her head to look at Jiang Li. Zatanna's first words were full of vinegar, and Jiang Li smiled slightly. Please believe me, you are the most special one, Xiaoza. Really? It's truer than pearls. Really? I don't believe it. The corners of Zatanna's mouth rose slightly, and the anger in her heart had disappeared by half, but she still couldn't help but tease Jiang Li. Jiang Li's eyelids jumped. How could this be so familiar, as if he had heard this sentence somewhere? At the next moment, Jiang Li saw a familiar figure walking into the bar. The dung-colored coat and the iconic scruffy appearance were exactly the person Jiang Li remembered. Isn't that Constantine? Full name John Constantine, known as Zikong by fans, scruffy blonde hair and bearded face, wearing a dung-colored coat all year round, cigarettes never leave his hand. This guy and Jiang Li had some unhappy past. When Jiang Li had not passed through various major events in Gotham City, he thought about whether he could sign Constantine, and then ran to London, read violent novels, just go to Feilu Fiction Network. As a result, the person saw it, but when he turned his head, he was punished with hundreds of US$, and at that time Jiang Li knew that Zakong was always the Zakong, good at smoking, drinking, and selling teammates. Huh? Zatanna followed Jiang Li's line of sight and turned her head to see Constantine as well. You know the liar too? Xiaoza, you know him too? The circle of the wizarding world is so large. John Constantine is also a famous one in the magic circle, with a recognizable appearance, and is a well-known liar. Speaking of this, Zatanna still had a hint of disgust on her face. Jiang Li nodded in agreement. Although he did not have much contact with the circle of the wizarding world, he knew Constantine's personality very well. He especially likes to contact people in marginal circles, and his sexual orientation is particularly strange, from non-humans such as demons to the spirit of Los Angeles City. Jiang Li walked up to inquire about what had happened, so that he would have a chance to sign in. Zatanna looked at him strangely, not continuing to stay with her as a big beauty, and actually went over to greet the notoriously sloppy liar. I didn't expect to see you here. Constantine raised his eyebrows, looked in the direction where the voice came from, and saw Jiang Li's figure. For Jiang Li, Constantine remembered the other party, and the latter replied awkwardly. Chaz, who was sitting across from Constantine, asked curiously, John, who is he? He's my friend Chase. Constantine first introduced his friend to Jiang Li, and then introduced him to Chaz. As for him, he is my creditor. Episode 103. Please, dude, I'm busy now. If we want to catch up and make an appointment another day, I'll treat you to a drink. Now Constantine wants Jiang Li to leave quickly all the time, because he feels that the other party is definitely coming to ask for money, and he can only find an excuse to send Jiang Li. Chaz can testify that he must have asked me to help him with something. Yes, I do need John's help with something, so I asked him here. He has some special means. Seeing this, Cons Dante was secretly happy in his heart, and he thought that it was his friend who lied to him and assisted. Yes, that's it. My means you also know 653, some little magic tricks. But Jiang Li could see the seriousness in Chaz's eyes. Your good friend seems to be serious, Zakong. Hearing this, Constantine was slightly stunned. He did not care about Jiang Li's name for him, but set his eyes on his friend Chaz. My daughter, she's the only person I care about. Trish is like the only light in the darkness, the only hope, but recently she had an accident. Constantine frowned, took a deep breath of the cigarette in his hand, and said, Chase, I'm not a doctor, you should ask someone else. Chaz's face was anxious. I looked for it, but they were helpless. I think the problem should be in a weirder place, that's why I came to you. Chaz and Constantine have been fooling around for a long time and can feel the ominous aura of black magic, so he asks Constantine to come out and ask for help. In this way, Jiang Li took Zatanna into the car of Chaz and Constantine. Constantine looked through the rearview mirror of the car to Jiang Li and Zatanna sitting in the back. While at the bar, Jiang Li made a statement that he could help, and showed off a magic trick. Constantine naturally wanted to leave the trouble to Jiang Li, but Chase couldn't trust anyone but him, and Constantine had no choice but to go with him. At the same time, he also agreed to let Jiang Li and Zatanna follow, because he planned to throw them in any trouble, and he could be relaxed. This is Zach on. Be clear in advance, don't expect me to protect you if you are in danger. Faced with Constantine's words, Jiang Li disagreed. Don't worry, we can protect ourselves. It stands to reason that Jiang Li's current level of magic is enough to rank high in the magic world, and now in this car are the three giants of the current magic world. When Renee saw Constantine, she directly turned angry. No. He is not allowed to appear here, and his broomstar will kill our daughter. Jiang Li stepped forward and gently waved his hand on Renee's face, and the anger on the latter's face gradually subsided and became as calm as water. Please give us a few minutes or so, I think I can help your daughter. After Renee was baptized by tranquilizing magic, and then hearing Jiang Li's gentle tone, she subconsciously nodded and agreed. Seeing this, Chase on the side said, wow, to be honest, I really want to learn this calming magic, so that Renee can be less angry. Jiang Li and Zatanna, as well as Constantine, enter Trisha's hospital room and see a little girl lying calmly on the hospital bed. You please? Constantine said first. It was Jiang Li and Zatanna's eyes that looked at the garbage, and Constantine had to step forward and recite a few spells, intending to see if Trisha's aura was possessed 0. Soon, there was an abnormality on Trisha's body, her face directly turned into a demon face, and countless flying insects spit out of her mouth. Seeing this, Constantine frowned. I have to summon an expert. Spell. With the launch of Constantine's spell, a golden portal appeared on the wall. Then a figure appeared, and a beautiful beauty in a purple nurse's uniform appeared in the eyes of the three. John, you really don't pick the time, I'm playing multiplayer sports with the Dryad and the Air Fairy. I have to say that the two of them are more praised than you. Constantine replied, you're not my best runner either. Humph, you and I both know it's not like this. Then the nightmare nurse Azaf saw Jiang Li and Zatanna. Don't you introduce these two to me? Jiang Li and Zatanna can be regarded as helpers. This is nightmare nurse Azaf, a demon. Azaf focused her attention on Jiang Li, who actually had a demonic aura that could attract her continuously. 29, and she walked up. Humph, this little handsome guy has a good temperament. Are you interested in sleeping with me for a night? Seeing this, Jiang Li couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He didn't expect that his super charm could also kill demons, but think about aliens, and the demons of the earth are not impossible. This provoked Zatanna's anger, who blocked Jiang Li behind her and glared angrily at Azaf. Well, it seems that the little handsome guy has a master, and the vinegar intention of the main lord is quite large. Azaf didn't care and said, she turned her head to look at Constantine. So why are you looking for me, nightmare nurse? Episode 104. Azaf used magic on Trish to check for abnormalities on her body, and quickly came to the answer. She is not possessed, because there is nothing here to possess. What do you mean? Constantine asked. Her body is here, but her soul and spirit are gone. Constantine thought of the abnormal reaction that occurred in Trish's body when he wanted to find out if Trish was possessed just now. But something was clearly attached to her just now. Then let's see who it is. After that, Azaf summoned a short staff in the void, and then suspended it in midair, with a purple magical aura all over his body. The short staff extended a long purple line, connecting Trish, and soon a red aura appeared on Trish's body, and with the short staff, it entered Azaf's body. Save me. Trish, where are you now? I think here, it should be in a cage. I can't see anything, it's so cold here. Who took you away? In the next moment, Trish's spirit, who was supposed to answer 06 Constantine's question, was covered, and what appeared was the face of a monster. It's me. Who are you? John. Constantine, you seem to have a lot of questions in your head. If you want to know the answer, come to me. As soon as the demon's words fell, a text was engraved on the window of the ward, with the exact address of Los Angeles written on it. Boom. An astonishing aura of magic erupted from Azaf's body, sweeping the entire ward. Jiang Li waved his hands, and two magic barriers instantly blocked in front of Trisha's hospital bed and in front of him and Zatanna. Azaf was forced out of his original form, a dark purple demon figure with an ugly appearance, which made Jiang jump from his eyelids. Azaf, are you alright? Azaf returned to his human appearance and directly scolded, don't eat sour radish. If the old lady were a human, she would have been burned a long time ago. She was in charge of Trisha's personal care during our long journey. Then Constantine looked at Jiang Li, it's your turn to contribute. Hearing this, Jiang Li smiled slightly, and then lightly snapped his fingers, and a swirling portal appeared in front of him. Jiang Li mercilessly pushed Constantine into the portal, and the latter gritted his teeth and glared angrily at the former. Can you be a gentleman? I can go by myself. They came to Los Angeles instantly, but they soon sensed something was wrong. Zatanna frowned, looked around and said, I seem to feel something staring at us. Not only Zatanna, but even Constantine and Jiang Li could feel a trace of strangeness. Especially Jiang Li, his sights and sounds were warning him all the time, and he could now say that he could sense something staring at their group in all directions. Although he sensed that something was wrong, Constantine would not be discouraged, and he said to Jiang Li and Zatanna, it will depend on you later, and I will only be responsible for communication. One of Constantine's creeds is that you can do it without doing it, because his black magic always comes at a price, so it is more often used to deceive. They came to a villa area and came to the designated address and knocked on the door. Squeak. When the gate opened, a pig-headed demon appeared, and he said with an evil smile, welcome, please don't be polite, come in. After the three entered the house, they immediately smelled a mixture of multiple smells, most of which were bloody and demonic smells. The atmosphere around is gloomy, and the walls are covered with murals about the demonic hell. I hate it here, Zatanna said with a look of disgust on her face. Let's take a walk. Jiang Li put his hands in his pockets and began to walk around this villa full of demonic atmosphere. Later, they went to a private pool, but the scene in front of them almost made Zatanna and Constantine spit out yesterday's dinner. There is no clear water under the pool, but countless corpses, human bones and scarlet blood, filled with an unpleasant smell of blood, like purgatory on earth. I really like the taste. When the three heard the prestige, they saw a huge fat demon figure appear in front of their eyes. Read violent novels, just go to Feilu Fiction Network. Jiang Li smiled slightly, and then secretly gave Zatanna a look, who immediately nodded in response. Spell. Zatanna quickly took out her magic wand, and a magic attack hit the demon who did not react. The demon under the pseudonym Bello was frozen in place, his face full of anger, and his tone was full of hatred. What does this mean, Constantine? Constantine looked at Jiang Li with doubtful eyes, trying to get an explanation from the other party. Jiang Li's palm gathered magic power, and then flicked it in front of Constantine's eyes, and the magic was attached to the latter's eyes, and Constantine saw Bello's true body. Nigel, it's you. Bello's real body is none other than Nigel, the demon who changed Constantine's Newcastle incident. Seeing that his identity was exposed, Nigel turned his gaze to Jiang Li. How do you know my identity? It's just a small check before killing you. When he heard it, Nigel Tun laughed evilly, as if he had heard a very funny joke. If you want to kill me, don't you care about that little girl named Trish? Don't forget that she is in my hands. By the way, she is in my heart. If you dare to hurt me, you will hurt her. As soon as the words fell, Constantine's face couldn't help but change, only Jiang Li's expression was as flat as water. Since I dare to recognize your 257 true body, I am sure to do everything well, and as for you, you don't need to worry about this. After speaking, Jiang Li's hands erupted with white dazzling light, and a white magic array appeared directly on the ground below Nigel, and the latter directly roared in pain. Trisha's soul flew out of Nigel's mouth and flew to the direction of the body in the London hospital. The light and the magic array gradually disappeared, and Nigel also realized that his greatest reliance was gone, and immediately confessed. Please don't kill me, I know there are other demons in Los Angeles, I can tell you their approximate location, just let me go. Sign into the Constantine series. Reward is the Saint Killer template. Episode 105. Saint Killer is a character in DC's comic book Missionary, and his ability is very good. With a revolver with absolute hits and absolute death, and unlimited bullets, no one can escape the pursuit of the Holy Killer, and has an immortal body of its own. Saint Killer template. With a revolver absolute hit, a bullet can hit the opponent in defiance of all obstacles, even the earth itself. Absolute death, enemies hit by bullets die instantly, even if they pass by. Listening to the sound of the system, Jiang Li raised a happy smile at the corner of his mouth, and in the face of Nigel's request, he answered. I'm not interested in listening to the devils, please. Jiang Li instantly took out a revolver, and with a loud bang, the bullet flew out from the muzzle and hit Nigel's brain directly. Nigel let out an incomparably painful wail, and the bullet that Jiang Li had just left directly destroyed his body and soul. Soon, Nigel's body turned into black smoke and gradually disappeared into the void. Wow, what was that just now? It was the first time Zatanna had seen such a powerful revolver, and it could shoot demons without any spells or magic. It's just a trick, Jiang Li smiled modestly. Zatanna didn't believe it was a trick, it was much simpler and rougher than complicated magic. Of course, it was much simpler. Jiang Li dared to believe that no one in the DC universe except those ceiling-level figures could block the bullets of the Saint Killer. Constantine took a deep breath of his cigarette. He really liked this kind of rotten work that did not require a shot and a brain. Hiss, since the matter is over, then are we? Please don't leave. Suddenly, a voice interrupted Constantine. The three of them looked at the place where the voice came from at the same time, and saw a beautiful woman standing there. Constantine and Zatanna did not miss each other's abnormalities. Only Jiang Li, seeing and hearing, can sense that the other party's breath is not an ordinary person, and it is naturally not a demon. First introduce yourself. I am the city spirit of this city. I sensed Nigel's death, and came here. This city spirit used to dare not enter Nigel's territory, but now that Nigel is dead, then the city spirit is no longer afraid of here. Saying that, the city spirit looked at Constantine, and the other party's reputation was obviously greater than the two next to him. Zatanna had just graduated from her father's Zatarana, while Jiang Li was not often active in the wizarding world. John Constantine, since you have eliminated the demon Nigel, then I would like to ask for your help to destroy the other 5 demons in the city. When Constantine heard this, he said without hesitation, I'm afraid I disappointed you. The person who killed Nigel was not me, but the person next to me with the revolver. This is obviously a rhythm of work, and Constantine naturally pushes as fast as possible. The spirit of the city glanced at Jiang Li a few times, except for a mysterious aura that was somewhat pleasant. There was nothing special. In the eyes of the city spirit, Jiang Li is a character with a revolver and taking the physical route, but killing Nigel naturally requires someone like Constantine from the magic department. I don't want those demons to pollute my city, and I hope you can help, Constantine. Constantine wants to swear, don't look at the polite man next to me. The revolver in his hand may even be able to kill the spirit of your city, don't believe it? Hiss. Constantine took a deep breath of smoke. Since the other party did not believe his words, then he could only refuse this request. Sorry, I'm busy. I'm afraid I don't have time to help you deal with those demons. You find someone else. After speaking, Constantine left here directly, without giving the city spirit a chance to speak. Read violent novels, just go to Felu Fiction Network. Seeing this, the city spirit had to turn its attention to Jiang Li and Zatanna. Maybe they could help. Those demons have done evil, and many have suffered because of it, and they must be taken care of. After the city spirit finished speaking, he transformed an image into the air. In the video, demons wreak havoc on civilians in an attempt to turn the entire city into hell on earth, so the spirit of the city has to ask for help. Seeing the tragic scene in the image, Zatanna couldn't help covering her small mouth, and she looked at Jiang Li on the side. Jiang Li gently wiped the revolver in his hand, and when he noticed Zatanna's gaze, he could only say indifferently, okay, tell us the approximate location of those demons. It just so happens that we all lack the object of training. Seeing that Jiang Li agreed with her, Zatanna immediately smiled and showed a charming smile. Those who are happy also have the spirit of the city, although they don't know the strength of the other party, but they are better pregnant than not. Great, thank you for your help. The spirit of the city gradually walked in, as if he wanted to kiss Jiang Li on the mouth. Good, good. Seeing this, Jiang Li hurriedly retreated. The disgust on his face was about to overflow. The other party is the spirit of the city of Los Angeles, and kissing the other party is equivalent to kissing the city. Moreover, it is a genderless existence. Jiang Li does not have such outrageous interests. He is not Zakong. I'm a beautiful woman now, and I thought every man liked it. Beauty naturally likes, but you are not a real beauty. Maybe you were an ugly uncle last time. Zatanna on the side was very satisfied with Jiang Li's reaction, thinking that the other party had relented. Episode 106. At an opera house in Los Angeles. The unusually large, green-faced fangs and feet of the demon were discussing something with the other 4 equally ugly demons and hideous faces. Their background is a hell on earth full of human blood, and most of them on the opera house stage are women. They are all red fruit, and they are eaten by little demons bite by bite. We should all know that Nigel is no longer in this city now, and it seems that his bastard has been slaughtered, which is really gratifying. Another demon was as fat as a bucket, with a huge mouth growing on his abdomen, and he scoffed, there is no one to compete with us anymore. We can turn this city into our hell city. The more you think about it, the more excited you are. The other demons laughed wildly and resounded throughout the opera house, but they didn't know that soon someone would come to take their necklace, probably without a head. So what's next for us? The plan is that you all have to stay here. The sudden sound made the 5 demons startled. It stands to reason that if someone enters their domain, they will know for the first time. Boom. 070. Suddenly, a blazing flame tornado appeared in front of them, and after the flames dissipated, it was 2 humans who entered the demon's sight. The green-faced fangs demon looked furious. Damn humans, dare to enter our territory, Lao Tzu will eat your soul and flesh and blood. Jiang Li pressed the brim of his cowboy hat, and a smile rose at the corner of his mouth. Friendly reminder, don't talk big before fighting, otherwise you will be eaten back. Bang! Jiang Li drew his gun at lightning speed, and the bullet quickly flew out of the muzzle, accurately hitting the green-faced fangs demon. The ending was naturally just like Nigel before, with a scream that echoed throughout the space, and the demon directly turned into a black smoke and completely disappeared into the air. Seeing this, the other demons immediately felt that something was wrong, and fled around, but it was a pity that it was too late for them to escape now. The surrounding space lit up with a dazzling light blue light, which was the magic enchantment set up by Jiang Li in advance. Unless the enemy's magic attainment was stronger than Jiang Li, there was no chance to break through this magic enchantment. Now it's up to you to perform, Xiaozat. Jiang Li smiled and looked at Zatanna on the side and said. The corner of Zatanna's mouth raised a confident smile, and she gently waved her magic wand and replied, just let you see, the anti-verbal magic of the world's top magicians. As soon as the words fell, Zatanna walked forward with her slender legs dressed in black silk, towards the demons who tried to break through the enchantment and escape. Jiang Li will not worry about Zatanna's accident, because this enchantment has the effect of weakening demons and increasing the strength of his own magic, and since he himself is here, he will be afraid of any accidents. Spell. Zatanna waved her magic wand, and suddenly a powerful magical aura burst out from Zatanna's body. Phew! A golden storm appeared on the ground of the bucket giant-mouthed demon, tearing his body to pieces little by little. Seeing that two of the same kind had died, the other demons no longer fled or resisted, but instead said tremblingly, why are you killing us? Jiang Li raised his eyebrows, you demons can eat us humans, why can't we humans kill you? The remaining three demons looked at each other, as if they were roaring like this, then wouldn't they all be certain death? The demon in the shape of a giant serpent tried to beg Jiang Li and Zatanna to let him go, saying, please spare my little life, I promise never to set foot in this city again. But the giant snake demon thought in his heart, since he can't come to this city, then go to other cities, anyway, the world is so big, the other party can't find the door quickly. Bang! AIEF responded to the serpent demon with a gunshot, followed by a blood hole in the serpent demon's head. How long are your demons' heads? How could we possibly let you demons with an unknown number of lives in your hands? Jiang Li said. He wanted to take out a cigar to pretend, but he was grabbed by Zatanna on the side and threw it away. Facing Zatanna's wife's strict eyes, Jiang Li had to look at the other two demons. One is a skinny demon that looks like a monkey, and the other is a demon that looks like a giant head. The skinny monkey demons look furious, they are demons from hell, but they are regarded as lambs to be slaughtered by two humans. If it is useless to run away or beg for mercy, then there is only a desperate fight. The two demons glanced at each other, and then flew towards Jiang Li and Zatanna at the same time. The thin monkey demon found Jiang Li, although the opponent's bullet can kill with one hit, but he is better than the speed, only the other party can't catch his figure, don't try to kill him. Jiang Li closed his eyes, just raised his hand in a certain direction, and with a bang of gunshots, the bullet cut an arc in the air. The skinny monkey demon in the rapid leap witnessed the bullet flying in his direction, whether he changed direction or used obstacles. Bullets will turn or break through obstacles directly, standing. This can't be. Yes. With a scream, there was only one demon left on the field, it was the giant-headed demon that Zatanna faced. Boom. The demon spewed out a scorching hellfire from its mouth, burning everything around it. Then, Zatanna chanted the anti-speech magic again, her hands gathered a powerful magical energy, and with a gentle push, the golden light cannon blasted towards the demon. The hellfire could not resist Zatanna's magic light cannon, and it took long for the moldy country to be scattered, and the demons were directly submerged and completely disappeared into the void. Phew! Zatanna gently blew her bangs and turned around and threw a good-looking wink at Jiang Li. Facing Zatanna's inviting eyes, Jiang Li smiled slightly, stretched out his thumb and little finger with both hands, and made a 666 gesture. Episode 107. Not long ago, she saw a prophecy about the future, a terrifying prophecy, and she saw mountains of corpses and huge figures sitting on top of the mountain. He has red skin, fur yellow eyes, and horns on his head that are as strong as an ox, and he is full of fear-fearing and powerful aura. Three Palace Demon Mrs. Xanadu said the real name of the terrible demon who predicted the future, and she couldn't help but sweat on her forehead. Someone is watching us, and it's a man with great magical attainments. Jiang Li never thought that his domineering appearance would be wrong, and the feeling just now was that someone was using peeping magic to watch him and Zatanna. When Zatanna heard this, Willow's brows furrowed together and whispered the spell of anti-verbal magic, and soon she also detected the magical aura from her in the void. We can add a layer of magic protection to ourselves, which can shield out the prying magic of others. Jiang Li picked Zatanna up in the way of a princess hug, and then used his domineering appearance to immediately track the peeper's magical aura. Jiang Li instantly came to his destination, which was Mrs. Xanadu's divination shop. After Zatanna came down from Jiang Li's arms, she was just about to step forward and knock on the door, who knew that the door opened on its own as if she knew of their arrival. Looks like someone knows we're going to visit. The two entered the room, and they were greeted by a Gothic-style room, full of mysterious items related to witchcraft and other mysterious objects. If it were changed to a past life, Jiang Li would definitely think that these were the tricks of liars. But this is the DC universe, so these may be real guys. As a descendant of an ancient people, it is unknown how many years have lived, but it is known that the Lake Fairy Vivian and the Lake Witch Morgan Luffy during the Arthurian period are her sisters. His magical attainments are extremely high, and he is best at divination magic, but unfortunately, in many works, he rarely uses his magical ability. Hello, Ace Jiang Li, Zatanna, daughter of Zatara, you can call me Mrs. Xanadu. Zatanna couldn't help frowning. Before they could introduce themselves, the other party said their names and identities, obviously not fuel-saving lamps. How did you know our identity? Read violent novels, just go to Feilu Fiction Network. What's more, the three-palace demon has not grown to the full stage, and its strength needs to be improved. It's really interesting. Jiang Li is not afraid of the three-palace demon, and his parallax ion template can also reach the multiverse level, and the three-palace demon cannot fully appear. He can only come by relying on the heirs of the earth, and his daughter Raven has enough power to defeat her father. Mrs. Xanadu's eyes were serious. We must cooperate to find the daughter of the devil and protect her so that she can have a glimmer of life. Until then, we still have one person missing. I was in free fall in midair, for 30 minutes. Episode 108. After listening to the ins and outs of Madame Xanadu, Constantine decisively rejected her proposal to form a prophecy against the future. The offer was good, but I declined. For salvation, Constantine has no interest in salvation. He is a refined egoist. As long as it does not get out of hand, he will definitely not be on the front line. Madame Xanadu was not surprised by Constantine's rejection, and the latter's reaction to the former was somewhat unexpected, as if he had expected his refusal. Inexplicable, are you ready to be the savior, because of this strange prophecy? 800 saw that Madame Xanadu was deflated, and Constantine had to say to Jiang Li and Zatanna that he did not believe that they were so stupidly persuaded by Mrs. Xanadu's words or two. Constantine had not seen Mrs. Xanadu's divination magic, but Jiang Li knew the existence of the three-palace demon, so what Mrs. Xanadu said was probably true. Naturally, I have no idea about being a savior, and the occasional shot is just a matter of interest. Jiang Li is very interested in demons from another dimensional world, and he is also very interested in the daughter of Sangong Demon, because she can be said to be one of the heroines she liked very much in her previous life. Seeing that no one agreed with him, Constantine took a sharp puff of his cigarette as if venting. Well, I don't want to participate in the salvation game between you, we will be indefinite after that. Constantine left Madame Xanadu's divination shop. Zatanna turned her head to look at Madame Xanadu and asked, it seems that the people you have worked so hard to call do not intend to join the alliance you are talking about. Madame Xanadu smiled mysteriously, and she did not feel any surprise at Constantine's decisive departure, as if everything was in her expectation. As expected. I'm not going to join this alliance either, I prefer to go it alone. What Zatanna didn't expect was that Jiang Li didn't plan to join Mrs. Xanadu's proposal. Obviously there was still a hint of wanting to join just now. In this regard, Mrs. Xanadu still had the mysterious smile on her face, and her rejection of Jiang Li was still expected. In an unknown town. Rachel walked home with sadness on her face. She had another unpleasant day at school, and soon she was about to graduate from college. But he has no friends himself, just alone. Everyone else regarded her as a freak, and no one ever wanted to make friends with her, resulting in sadness often hanging on her face. Speaking of which, she often dreamed of a back full of security in her dreams, and she only remembered the other party's faintly exposed side face. Rachel returned home without much thought, but found that the lights were not turned on at home. To be precise, her mother was off work at this time. Mom, are you home? The next moment, a figure came out of the shadow, that is, Rachel's mother in cognition, and at this time, Rachel's mother's eyes were glowing with a strange red light. Mom? Rachel couldn't help but ask as she took a few steps back with some fear. The corners of Rachel's mother raised a strange arc, and her voice was accentuated. Your mother is not here, but your father is looking for you. Let me take you to find your father. I've never met my dad. You're not Mom. Who are you? Rachel's mother bowed slightly. I am the most loyal subordinate of Lord Demon God. You are the daughter of the Demon God. Let me take you home. After speaking, Rachel's mother slowly approached Rachel, and when she was about to reach out and grab the latter's hand, the latter's eyes instantly turned black, and her body burst out with mysterious and powerful energy. "Don't come near me." The black energy shockwave shook Rachel's mother and immediately fell to the ground, and the demons in the latter's body were also dispersed. "Mom." Rachel's face couldn't help but be anxious, and her heart was full of guilt. She once again did not control the power in her body and hurt others. Rachel's mother opened her eyes with difficulty. She slowly turned her head to look at Rachel and said, "Rachel, in fact, I am not your mother, but I love you more than everyone in the world, and now you must get out of here. You have to find people who are willing to protect you, and they came to you." As soon as the words fell, Rachel's mother rolled her eyes, and the whole person was lifeless. It turned out that she had already been absorbed all the life energy by the previous demon. No, Rachel's eyes were misty. She didn't have anyone in the world who loved her anymore. "Ha ha ha ha, poor girl, maybe I can help you. As long as I bring you back, Lord Demon God will definitely be rewarded with 02. The whole house echoed with the whispers of demons, and strange dark shadows could be seen in the mirror, and Rachel looked around in fear. Suddenly, she thought of the figure in her dream. Maybe he could help her. Rachel could only reluctantly put down her mother's body, with tears in her eyes, and rushed out of the door of the house. Read violent novels, just go on Felu Novel Network. The opening is taken from the first episode of the first season of Titan, slightly modified, but that's all. I was dumb when I saw Scarlet Fire. Episode 109. When Constantine returned home to London, he slept naked in bed, sweating on his forehead and a somewhat hideous face. In his sleep, Constantine found himself in a city with no signs of life, with scarlet bodies and bloodstains strewn on the roadside. "John Constantine," a voice like a demon whisper echoed in Constantine's ears. Constantine quickly turned his head and looked in the direction where the voice came from, but there was nothing in front of him. Ahem. Suddenly, Constantine felt that his neck was being pinched by a transparent and powerful giant hand, making it difficult to breathe. He was held in the air by an invisible giant, and a hideous ugly face of a demon began to gradually appear in front of him, and suddenly the demon rushed out of Constantine. AAA Constantine was awakened. This nightmare was the third time, and after that day, he had been having similar nightmares. Constantine dared to conclude that all this had to do with the woman named Madame Xanadu and the prophecy she spoke of. "Don't eat sour turnips. What a bad luck." Constantine couldn't help cursing, so he had to get up and get dressed. He immediately left his room and prepared to go to Mrs. Xanadu's divination shop. After a series of long journeys, Constantine finally came to Madame Xanadu's divination shop again. The door seemed to detect Constantine's arrival and opened automatically. "I really hate it here." After the last deflated, "Constantine is not 22, how to like Mrs. Du's divination shop." Constantine soon met Madame Xanadu. "I've been having uncomfortable dreams lately, and I bet it must have something to do with you." Mrs. Xanadu opened her meditative eyes and looked at Constantine. "It's not about me, but the prophecy has arrived, and you can't escape." Hearing this, Constantine pouted unpleasantly, and as the joy of everyone is not as good as the solo happiness, he scoffed at the so-called salvation prophecy. But when it comes to his future daily life, Constantine has no choice but to reluctantly compromise once. "Say, where is that girl?" The picture turned and came to Rui's side. Relying on her pocket money, Rachel arrives at an airport ready to travel to a place she doesn't know. "Where do you want to go?" the waiter asked Rachel with a professional smile on his face. Rachel wore a hooded sweatshirt that blocked her slightly fair face, looking at all the places that could be reached on the big screen above. To be honest, she didn't know where to go. She only remembered the back, but she didn't know where he was. Suddenly, Rachel's afterglow caught a strange place, and the eyes of many passers-by focused on her, and their eyes were as wide as copper bells. "It's weird." Rachel knew that those people were coming for her again, and she hurriedly shouted to the service staff, "Please give me a ticket to Gotham City, hurry up." The service staff was startled by Rachel's tone, and there was a trace of magical energy in the slightly loud volume, which made her slightly stunned. Seeing that she was only stunned and had not yet given herself a ticket, Rachel's face was anxious, and her eyes began to darken, showing an evil aura. "Quick!" Now the waiter reacted. She began to look at Rachel in fear. Her hands were busy and she kept operating, and soon a brand new ticket was handed to Rachel. Rachel just ran with the ticket, and she could see those strange eyes on the way, and as time passed, she became more and more afraid. A few minutes later, a scruffy man in a dung-colored coat walked up to the desk. He is Constantine, who follows in Rachel's footsteps. Constantine took a deep breath of his cigarette. As an old churros of the wizarding world, he was able to see the unusual on the airport. There are very few people, so it is already strange to be able to see the people in the airport at a glance, and they all look in the same direction in silence. Only the service staff did not suffer, just like the fights in the game did not affect NPCs. "Damn, I was really hit by that woman, and now someone is really ghosting." Constantine narrowed his eyes, and he walked to the front desk. That girl just now is my runaway daughter, please give me a ticket like her, thank you. The service staff naturally did not believe Constantine's nonsense, and the latter did not intend to let her believe it. He chanted a mantra softly, and the service staff's eyes were a little sluggish, and obediently gave Constantine a ticket to Gotham City. After a lot of running nonstop, Rachel finally got on the plane to Gotham City. She sat in her seat and gasped, feeling relieved to get rid of those people. Unfortunately, what Rachel didn't realize was that it was not people who chased her. Rachel turned her head to look out the airplane window, only to find that her reflection on the glass window did not follow, and she began to feel that something was wrong. Got you. Rachel in the reflection turned her head sharply, and it was herself with black eyes. Rachel was startled. She ran to the bathroom in a panic, and quickly washed her pretty face with clean water in an attempt to calm herself down. Where are you fleeing? Self in the mirror, looking at her with a smile, Rachel took a few steps back in fear and hit the bathroom wall. She had no way to escape. Don't pester me. Rachel let out a snort, and black energy poured out of her. Bang! The mirror and faucet in the bathroom burst open instantly, and the demonic voice disappeared. Rachel was left alone to slump on the toilet in fright, sobbing softly. I don't know how long it took, but the plane landed smoothly. The flight attendant saw that the bathroom door had not been opened, so she stepped forward and knocked. Hello, is anyone in the bathroom? Squeak, the doorway opens. Walking out was Rachel with light blue hair soaked. Her face was full of pale at this time, and she was almost driven crazy. The first thing the flight attendant saw was a mess in the bathroom, and was about to question Rachel with words, but was slammed on the shoulder by the person behind her. You have a problem, right? The flight attendant was rudely bumped into her seat until she fixed her eyes on how weird it was to hit her face. A man with black eyes and walking like a zombie, kept his eyes on the back of Rachel leaving, read violent novels, just go to Felu Fiction Network. The flight attendant was immediately too frightened to make a sound, and lay stiffly in her seat until Rachel and the strange man left. After Rachel got off the plane, her eyes looked at the dull sky, and when she was at the airport before, she subconsciously said Gotham City. She felt that something should be waiting for her in Gotham City, and sometimes her instincts were accurate. Rachel covered her soaked hair with a hood and walked through the countless crowds of people on the dark streets, ignoring everything around her. Everything that happened before made her very sensitive, so that she did not dare to touch too much with the outside world, and could only pretend that she could not see and hear anything. You can't escape, the demon whispered to Rachel's ears, voices that only she could hear. Rachel could only tighten the clothes on her body, suppressing the fear and helplessness in her heart. She only hoped to find the figure in her memory quickly. The picture turned, the cave of the apocalypse. Jiang Li, who was performing the scene of the train entering the cave in the Dionysian Factor hot spring, suddenly frowned. Zatanna's somewhat lazy beautiful eyes gradually came back to her senses, and her somewhat lazy tone was filled with doubt. What's wrong with you? Is it perceiving something? She could see Jiang Li's strange appearance at once, and usually a frown was equivalent to discovering something he didn't expect. Jiang Li nodded. Just now, his domineering aura sensed Gotham at this time, and entered several strange breaths. Those breaths did not belong to humans, most of them belonged to the breath of Demon 443, and there was a very special existence among them. The owner of that breath was mixed with the breath that belonged to humans and demons, and it was obviously a hybrid of the two. Jiang Li waved his hand lightly, and an image appeared above them. What is shown is Rachel's figure walking on the street, and the strange appearance in the shadows behind her. Jiang Li could see Rachel's identity at a glance, mainly because her appearance was very recognizable, with light blue shoulder-length short hair, fair skin and a beautiful and cute face. It looks like someone has been targeted. The origin story of American comic heroes, in addition to the huge popularity, such as Batman, most versions must die parents. Otherwise, the origin story has multiple versions, and even Jiang Li can't grasp it. The origin of the Raven is also divided into a comic version and a drama version, so Jiang Li does not plan to take the initiative to find it. What I didn't expect now was that Jiang Li had not yet taken the initiative to attack, and Rachel the Raven actually arrived in Gotham City by herself. There are also demons hidden in the shadows, presumably the lackeys sent by the Three Palaces demon to rob Rachel. Those demons came looking for that girl. Zatanna stared at the picture in the air, and her eyebrows couldn't help but frown. Then Zatanna recalled the prophecy that Mrs. Xanadu had said earlier, and she turned her head to look at Jiang Li. She is the daughter of the devil in the population of Shangdufu, the main figure of this future crisis? That's right, she is the demon god Sangong demon of the other dimensional world, the heir left on the earth, and now she is a fragrant food in the eyes of many demon god followers. Jiang Li's gaze fell on Rachel in the picture, and a smile rose at the corner of his mouth. We have to help her, otherwise she will be robbed, and we will not be able to find her. Episode 110. Rachel had traveled long distances without a serious rest, and with the demon's entanglement causing mental exhaustion, she was already sitting weakly in the dark alley. Poor girl, let me take you home. There was a strange sound in the sky, accompanied by a terrifying black shadow falling on the ground. Rachel raised her tired face and saw a demon with red skin, wings on her back, and a hideous and terrifying face appear in front of her eyes. She was afraid, but she no longer had the strength to keep running. Maybe she really wanted to be taken away by this group of demons and leave this world. The demon saw that Rachel no longer ran away and resisted, and the corner of his mouth raised an evil smile. Now he can complete the task of the demon god, and then he will be able to get what he wants. Very good, adults will definitely reward me. Just as the demon was about to reach out and grab Rachel's arm, a golden light shone in the void. AAA, the demon was burned by the golden light like fire, flew back 10 meters away, and then blocked his wings in front of him, trying to resist the golden light. Rachel saw that the demon was forced to retreat by the sudden golden light, and she couldn't help but be slightly stunned. She felt confused about everything that happened. Little sister, sometimes ask for help, maybe a miracle will happen. A voice full of magnetism and tenderness came into Rachel's ears. She turned her head and saw a handsome man in a black trench coat and a cowboy hat appear in her eyes. The figure was deeply imprinted in her eyes, making Rachel think of the back full of security in her dream, and the person who might be able to save her had appeared. Zatanna came from the rear, and the first thing she saw was Rachel's eyes that were deeply attracted by Jiang Li, and the former couldn't help but frown beautifully. She could not only feel that Rachel began to have a sense of déjà vu with Jiang Li, but also the evil and powerful magical power in Rachel. Although she really wanted to remind Jiang Li, if she could feel it, then Jiang Li would definitely be able to feel it, and since the latter didn't say anything, then she could only wait and see. Who the hell are you? The demon realized that he was being disturbed, but he was burning in anger, and he shouted angrily at Jiang Li. An ace passing by, just remember it for me, although you don't have a chance later. The demon could sense the cold killing intent from Jiang Li's tone, and the former couldn't help but take a step back, and his heart was actually frightened by the momentum on the latter's body. Humph, do you think I'm the only one fighting alone? The city has long been surrounded by us. Jiang Li's eyes had a cold light, and he also knew that Gotham City at this time had poured into several demonic auras, and these demons were not only professionals on the magic side. Heroes like Batman and his Venus team are a bit hard to deal with. Seeing that Jiang Li stopped talking, the demon thought that the other party was afraid, and suddenly the corner of his mouth raised an evil smile. Human beings are really timid, enjoy the last night. Then, the demon seemed to fly into the sky, ready to leave here immediately, who let the other party be a little overwhelming. But just when the demon was about to spread its wings and fly high, with a flash of golden light, a semicircular barrier trapped the demon in it, and the former could not escape no matter how it collided. I let you go? How dare you? Aren't you afraid that after I die, the location of this place will be exposed? The demons in front of him were frightened, and he knew that Jiang Li was a dangerous person, so he could only move out of the demons who entered Gotham City and try to scare Jiang Li and the others. But the reality is that Jiang Li is not only not afraid, but also dares to directly keep him and try to completely erase him. Jiang Li smiled at this, directly ignored the demon, and turned his head to look at Rachel, who was kneeling on the ground. Read violent novels, just go to Feilu Fiction Network. At this time, Rachel looked a little embarrassed. Her short light blue hair was slightly messy, and her face was also a little dirty, obviously chaste and never rested. Can you still stand up? Jiang Li smiled and crouched down on one knee and extended his clean right hand to Rachel. Seeing this, Rachel subconsciously wanted to hold Jiang Li's outstretched hand, but realized that her hand was a little dirty and took it back. Humph, what a little girl. Jiang Li backhanded Rachel's somewhat earthy jade hand and pulled her up. Jiang Li waved his hand casually, and the magic directly washed away the dirt and stains on Rachel's body. Yeah, thank you. Rachel thanked a little shyly. For some reason she was always attracted by Jiang Li's temperament. It's like a gentle big brother who takes care of you everywhere. Want to solve the culprit who chased you all the way? Jiang Li asked with a smile. Rachel couldn't help but be stunned when she heard this. She subconsciously looked at the demon, and the latter was directly startled by Rachel's sight. The strength of the former inherited his master. If Rachel had really made up her mind to solve him, he would have no chance of surviving.